The voice of retired Justice Johan Krigler is coming back to us, and it is about time we listened to the report about what we needed to do to avoid a situation where election will sink this country as of that of 2007. I am speaking about the current political mechanisms that are at the center of Cherera removal from Cherera and the team removal from the IEBC. Welcome to the Bold Analysis. This is the most informative political podcast in Kenya. I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel. If Krigler was to come back to this country nearly 15 years after the post-election violence, the current situation in our election management is pathetic, to say the least. Azimio la Umoja last week walked out of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and protesting about the premeditated process of hounding out of office Cherera and the other 4 commissioners that did not support results Wafula Chebukati announced after the 9th general election. And after walking out, the process is supposed to continue even next week. Osoro asked a question that did not get an answer. And I liked that question. I wanted to get that question. Osoro asked some very important question that did not get an answer. By the way, after walking out, the other petitioners prosecuted their case. UDA, I think, wants to run the government their own style. They have, I think, President Ruto have the privilege of doing it his way, but the only scare is, does his way cross the constitutional red line? What's your take? Maybe for those who have not been following this, we just need to give you a brief of what happened so far. When Azimio la Umoja team principals attended the public hearing, that was the first instant that was done, and they walked out in protest. However, the constitution of justice, the composition of Justice Legal Affairs Committee, according to the standing orders, there are 15 members. And that's where the rule of the majority comes in. Kenya Kwanza have 8 members because they're majority, and then Azimio has 7. So even after them walking out, and of course with some few absentees, they still got quorum and persecuted and gave the petitioners time to present their case. Azimio had some objections. The lawyers pointed out some objections, and I think they were dismissed. And so they walked out in protest. That's the video that you were seeing there. However, the worry is that our election management process is still not devoid of political mechanisms. It is very worrying that you can clearly see that the process is purely a political process. Look at the profiles of petitioners. At one instant, a petitioner told the committee that he's a member of UDA.
Indeed, like any other Kenyan citizen, I'm a member of a political party, and specifically UDA. In moving this committee through a petition, I'm not instructed by UDA or any other agent. I'm acting on my own capacity as a citizen.
UDA is the ruling party. So a member of ruling party is petitioning for removal. Of course, it is within his right. But don't you think it's blatantly showing the intention, coupled by or rather reaction from the president himself talking about the matter? Juliana Cherera is leaking out a report that to one after the general election, and this has been leaked out by Junet himself, Junet Mohammed, that they were offered some cash benefits so that they can voluntarily leave the commission. It's bit shows how that political mechanisms that are behind their removal. MPs also at one point gave a press conference saying about how Wafula Chebukati and other officials at the IEBC are positively rewarded after the election.
At a time everyone else is being told to cut costs, IEBC top management appears to be on a spending spree. Tens of millions of taxpayers' money is being spent by Wafula Chebukati, Hussein Majan, Abdi Gulie and Boya Molu in a scheme that looks like a reward to those who ensured elections went in a particular predetermined way. IEBC staff, from the chairman to CEO and directors, are globetrotting on trips whose value to taxpayers remains unknown.
John Krigler told us something that the forgetful nation of Kenya has actually forgotten. That the biggest pillar in our democracy is free and fair election. But that really started with the commission. And the framers of 2010 Constitution came up with the Elections Act. Do you know that as we have, as a process to remove the 4 commissioners commences, there is another parallel process or an act amendment that is being tabled to change the composition of selection panel that is supposed to appoint, rather to nominate the new commissioners. According to the Elections Act of 2011, we had 2 from Parliamentary Service Commission, 2 men, 2 women, 4. Then we have 2 from the clergy and LSK, which was making it 7. Now we are reducing, and there is that amendment there, which is introducing a person nominated by a Public Service Commission and Political Parties Liaison Committee. So these 2 developments are going concurrently. We're in the process of procuring a new commissioners, which is now the commission, and we are changing rules. And Krigler warned that when you touch election laws, it must be collective. It must have the political goodwill. I don't know whether this one of ours is having political goodwill. However, I want us to make it I don't want to make it look like a Kenya Kwanza affair as of now, because we've had this problem of the electoral body becoming, really being at the center of any regime. And this is it. I want to debunk this narrative that I have seen people asking that after Raila boycotted the last general election, his reservation was that Supreme Court inducted the IEBC chairman of Wafula Chebukati and the secretariat. We saw some commissioners leaving at will, including Nakombe, and even Ezra Chiloba getting dismissed. But in the handshake, after Raila went to handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, that allegedly Raila left the ball on election reform. And that's what he's picking up now, which the argument is, as he's not picking it up, he might not be interested to go on the ballot. But then, one thing that people tend not to appreciate is, number one, the framers of the BBI, the handshake, envisioned reconciliation. And in the spirit of reconciliation, it would not make any sense to make an disruptive effort, maybe to remove the commission. And at that point, the commission did not have 4 commissioners. And of course, I really had great reservations why Uhuru did not appoint those commissioners on grounds that there was no selection panel. I've always said it was just there. So the 4 commissioners were removing came to the commission last year, 2021, September. So they may be the shortest one to be there. But what we are also told is the handshake was boosting legitimacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. So how was upscaling legitimacy going to be achieved by a handshake partner running in the streets to say that Wafula Chebukati must leave? Raila Odinga had to put away, just had to leave the conversations about IEBC, because on that ground, it would have meant that he still didn't believe on what the handshake concept was. So that's why, and it's my perception that he might left the ball. But do you know that Raila was not supposed to vie in 2022? Do you know that? Raila was not supposed to vie in 2022, but someone called the ball. We are all burying our heads in the sand, and how I wish this is a conversation we're going to have. The process of procuring IEBC commissioners is a political process. In fact, it is a political process that cannot allow us to get a partial commission, an impartial commission. That's the tragedy. That's not what we are saying. And William Ruto team, what happens is, after this committee listens to these petitions, they will make a judgment on whether to forward these petitions, or whether for president to form a tribunal or not, tribunal to investigate the 4 commissioners or not. When tribunal is formed, these people will be suspended from office, and after they're suspended, they will be drawing half salaries, and of course, at one point, because the goal was to chase them from the commission, they are going to leave the commission. So it is a political process that rests with the signature of the president. I have said this once and again. Question: in 2015, there was a Firimbi operation that saw removal of Isaac Hassan, and we had a new commission. That's how Chebukati later came to get to the commission. William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza team are saying we need to punish election offenders. Lie. That is not the intention. The intention is you want to change the guard. You want to change the guard. I don't think it is indecent to lie to the Kenyan people that the intention is to punish Cherera, Masit, and the other commissioners. That is not the intention. The intention is to change guide. Why? There is 2027 elections in the corridor, and number 2, there is the boundaries and limitation, constituency boundaries and limitations that is supposed to happen later on this year. So we are somewhere that I don't know who's going to help us to come out of that, because this is a political situation and everything seems to have taken a political twist. Who do we really mean well? And I join the voice of Kenyans that are saying we have serious things that are affecting this country. The priority was to fix the economy, not to fix the politics. However, we seem to have made a U-turn and realized that, things are not safe. So we are fixing politics instead of focusing. People are going without food. People are going without food in these areas. The farmers are hoarding their maize. They don't want to sell because they are not getting good returns. Those are the things. We are looking at how we can service our loans, just yet to roll Hustlers Fund. But instead of doing advocacy on Hustlers Fund so that people can open business. Instead of creating awareness, we are taking airtime all through in the media, paying airtime in the media to cover political processes. I join the voice of Kenya and say, no, we have other things to do. This is what Krigler told us, that the process must and should instill confidence amongst the stakeholders. Why is it normal to the current dispensation that what is happening even in the constitution of the process is not instilling confidence in the commission? Let me tell you, you can actually rig elections and get away with that if the commission the trust level at the commission is very high. You can get away with it. One of the reasons that creates a big problem, even in 2007, is the fact that, the commission itself was doubted. The late Kivitu alikuwa na tapatapa. So in the process of procuring commission, you're already showing signs that I want to remove these people. It's just a concept of, I want to put my people. On that, you lose it. So the new people that are coming into office after the fall, ultimately they'll have to leave, will not get the public confidence on them. And that's already a minus in our democracy. Let the process not be predictable. It's now predictable that we are removing this, we want to put that, and people have started speculating. So who is going to be the next, who is going to take over the position of the chair and the vice chair and so that? The process should not be premeditated towards a specific direction, even though we are asking for so much, because the constitution allows it to be the way it is. The president's signature is final. Let me tell you, what is wrapped as a rule of law is just but execution of a concept. I want my person. It's not what is executed. And I'm glad that Kenyans are not buying that narrative that, okay, we want to remove them so that we punish them. Okay, so after removing, are you going to take them to jail? Maybe that's punishment. So, maybe it's a political scare that I will put a commission of my own people in. So anyone who wants to compete with me in future, lazima jipange. That's my bold. Guys, it's time. If Krigler was here, we don't learn from the past. That's my take.